You could see post-pandemic, there was all that sort of buildup of demand. There were these sort of chip shortages. You saw those car sales just sort of recover. And this is just the top line for all kinds of cars. You can see now in the month of July, up by only 0.2% in the EU. That's really very, very flat. And that is across all the sort of different types. Let's try to drill into what we saw in terms of the actual engine types, because EVs have been in focus, as we know. So too have diesels, gas, and hybrids. But the EV demand in July, as you can see, deliveries down 11%. This is moving sort of against the direction that a lot of people in Europe would like to see, a lot of the policymakers. But guess what? You look at diesel and gas, you're not seeing much better in the month of July. They're down 10%, down 7%. And we should say that for the EVs in Germany, that figure in Germany for the month of July was down 39%. What is bucking that trend, Guy and Crady? What I think is interesting are the hybrids, up 26% in the month of July, as people sort of try to establish what's going on with the EV picture. Charging stations a little bit freaked out, potentially, about going into the EV story, particularly with the secondary market not holding up. It seems like people are going into hybrids. When we look at what this means for the actual car makers, that is sort of an interesting story here. Tesla down 15% in the month of July. Volkswagen down 2.2%. Mercedes and BMW bucking the trend a little bit. BMW was up 2.8% there. There's sort of a mixed bag here. But as you can see, the EV maker, Tesla, down 15%. Really a material move here in the month of July from what we're seeing.
Certainly something we're going to be keeping an eye on. And Guy, I think what's interesting, he's talking about that bump into the hybrid space. I'm curious how much of this is a ripple effect of governments around Europe kind of pulling back on some of that infrastructure spend when it comes to the EV story.
Range anxiety is a huge factor. You can deal with it by buying a hybrid. Toyota has been the biggest proponent of the hybrid. And everybody took the mickey and said, why are you doing this? You got it all wrong. You want to be making and accelerating the trend into EVs. Turns out maybe Toyota got it right in figuring out what was going on here.
And what's interesting is also Mercedes and BMW also holding up. So part of the luxury trade still holding up, which is what we saw in a lot of when the rest of the auto sector was going down. The luxury was still holding up. That being said, guys, Porsche from the VW group down 15% in terms of deliveries in the month of July. So, not really sort of welcome news at Porsche and Volkswagen.
Is that the aftermarket when it's affecting the Taycan and other products like that? The electric story for Porsche, you've seen some real value collapse in the aftermarket, which may be putting buyers off in the primary market.
Completely, and it's going to continue to happen in the EV space until this sort of reaches maturity in that market.